Daniela Faykoo Martinez is a registered dietitian and is currently a senior patient education specialist at SeamlessMD, where she designs surgical digital care plans for patients. Daniela has a Bachelor of Applied Science in Nutrition and Food and a Master's of Health Science in Nutrition Communication from Ryerson University. As a dietitian in the health tech industry, Daniela enjoys applying her clinical skills and incorporating concepts such as plain language, health behavior theories, and facilitation skills to manage project teams. Her favorite part of the role is reading patients' feedback and being able to make a meaningful, measured difference in guiding patients to a safe recovery. This is Daniela's 5th time on the SeamlessMD podcast. She appeared on episodes 13, 18, 21, and 32 discussing digital patient engagement for colorectal surgery, urology, thoracic surgery, and gynecology, respectively. Today, we're super excited to have Daniela back again, this time to share more on a relatively new program, digital patient engagement for TAVR, or transcatheter aortic valve replacement. Daniela, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, TAVR is a mouthful to say. Also called TAVI, which can get kind of confusing.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely jump into that because I know in Canada it's TAVI, and I think in the States it's TAVR. It is a mouthful. That is absolutely true. Before jumping into the actual digital care plan, let's give a really brief synopsis for guests listening to the show on what digital patient engagement actually is. And for that, I'm going to pass it over to you, Josh, if you don't mind, just to give a quick summary of what the technology actually is so that people are all on the same page.
Yeah, I feel like every time we do this, we alternate between Alan describing it and then you asking me. So I guess it's my turn. Yeah, so for those on the line, folks on the line who aren't familiar, I guess we define digital patient engagement as guiding patients on their phone, their tablet, or their desktop computer through their healthcare journey, just a much more interactive way. So for example, let's say you are going through a surgery, getting all of your instructions delivered to you on your device through interactive reminders, interactive content. That could be tasks, educational cards, it could be exercise videos, illustrations. So just a much more engaging way of getting that content. But I think very importantly, we engage patients to track data and progress. So patients are tracking symptoms, pain scores, photos of their incision, compliance with instructions, and patients get feedback on how they're progressing and what to do if something is off track. But then also we have care teams who can get alerts and dashboards at the hospital to monitor patients and catch issues much earlier. And as I'm sure people know, during COVID, when we're trying to keep patients healthy at home, this sort of digital patient engagement monitoring experience can be really, really valuable. And so, yeah, excited to have Daniela for a record 5th time on the podcast to educate us on digital patient engagement for TAVR, or for you Canadian folks, TAVI.
Exactly. So Daniela, maybe to start with, just could you explain what is TAVR, what is TAVI, what are the differences between those two, if there is?
Sure. Yeah, I think they're actually the same. Yeah. So it's either transcatheter aortic valve replacement or implantation. So like an easy way to remember what it is valve in a valve. Mm-hmm. If a patient is, a high risk patient for an open heart surgery and they have severe aortic stenosis, then they would get their prosthetic valve put into their diseased valve, and then that would help the blood flow and whatnot. So that's kind of what TAVR is. It's definitely the less well-known, I think, procedure. It's not like open heart or, getting a stent that most people would know. But that's what TAVR is.
Cool. And correct me if I'm wrong, but a common access point is actually through the leg.
Yes, actually, I think there's 4 to 6 different ways you can go, but definitely, through the chest and then more direct into the heart, or through the groin. They can get in.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'd say that we're definitely seeing a lot of growth with TAVR programs. I think it started off a number of years ago as, obviously, as Daniela mentioned, for patients maybe are more frail or elderly, it's kind of a safer option than open heart surgery perhaps. But I think just from the novelty of it being a new innovation, we're seeing more and more centers wanting to do what we haven't done before, or trying to grow their access to it as a center of excellence. So I would say, maybe like 5 years ago, we didn't hear much about TAVR from a patient engagement point of view, but lately it's definitely been coming up a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's minimally invasive, a lot quicker recovery. Often our open heart patients are like a week in the hospital. Like it's, very tough on the patient. But with TAVR patients, I mean, it's not easy, but it's way easier recovery than open heart. And, a lot of these, oftentimes these patients are older. So definitely a safer for sure.
Yeah, awesome. So I'm actually curious, Daniela, in terms of concerns that a patient might have going in for a TAVR or TAVI, what do they care most about? What are they anxious about? What do they care about?
Yeah, I was actually quite surprised because I thought, oh, minimally invasive, quick recovery. I was really surprised to see a lot of patient concerns about their pain, the stiffness, because of the area of the incisions and like the neck, kind of like chest area, as well as the groin. They're very sensitive. So, it really goes to show that pain is subjective and patients are concerned about that after surgery. The other thing that I think TAVR patients are most concerned about is actually understanding what the procedure is. Like I mentioned, it's less well known. Most patients probably have no idea what TAVR is until like they get told they need one.
Mhm.
So they want to know, what is the procedure? What is this prosthetic valve? What is the valve made of? They want like all those little details. And I think there is just, I guess, maybe like a general concern that this foreign object is being inserted into their body. Because I have seen like similar results or similar concerns in like our ortho groups when they're having like an implant, or the hernia groups where they're having like mesh put in. Patients just want to know more about, those prosthetic items and the procedure itself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
I guess, Daniela, like for folks who don't know, I think one of the neat things about, I guess, the TAVR digital care plan on SeamlessMD is there's a lot of not just text content, but there's like lots of illustrations about like what is a transfemoral approach and how does that look different than like a subclavian or anything else. So it sounds like a lot of effort on our end goes into visualizing with the patient what these different types of procedures may include.
Absolutely. Yeah, we definitely have some fantastic illustrations that show the anatomy and, me here, like, how would you do heart surgery through my leg? That's so weird.
Mhm.
So, we try to visualize that for the patient with very simple, illustrations showing the specific veins or arteries involved, where kind of the catheter would go in, and then how we actually have a video showing how that gets released into the valve to replace it. So lots of options there for patients, catering to different learning styles, whether it's, reading it or seeing it or watching it. Lots of fantastic options there.
That's great. So I think something that's unique about SeamlessMD in particular, so the company behind the technology, is that about a quarter or even more of our team is clinical in training. And so Daniela, yourself, for instance, and so when you're working to design these digital care plans, you're also incorporating, what's best for the patient, and you're really thinking about it from their lens. And so, like you're saying, if they're a visual learner or if they need to read it as well or have a video, you're really incorporating all of these learning styles together. And so I think that's maybe a good point to pivot the conversation now to talking about specific features that you've built into the technology for the TAVR program. Could you illustrate what some of those are for us?
Absolutely. So I think one of the most important things when we think about our cardiac patients is monitoring those vitals once they go home, especially with TAVR patients, shorter length of stay, they're at home quickly. How can our hospital partners keep tabs on their patients? So patients have the option to monitor these and input these values online, and then their clinical team can actually come back and read them. So things like putting in your blood pressure, your heart rate, as well as your weight. So for cardiac patients, we want to know if there's been a significant weight change, patients are gaining weight quickly. So that has been fantastic. And actually one of our TAVR programs went live just before a COVID lockdown. And they, the staff were locked basically at home for like 7 weeks. And they said it was so awesome to be able to monitor those patients that they just released, because there was very few options for coming in person. And they were just basically set up for success that way. And it's amazing because this population is probably our oldest population. I think record patient is like 95 years old.
Wow.
So really, like, if someone struggles with technology, they can just opt to add a caregiver and they follow along. So people like let their grandkids come in, you know, their children, their partner, whoever feels most comfortable to help them use the program. They're adding in all their vitals. They get specific recommendations. And they've even asked us to add one more vital, oxygen saturation, because patients are going out on Amazon and buying these meters and they want to know what to do with these numbers. So patients are taking their vitals and then we tell them, you know, oh, your BP is above this number, you got to call in. Your O2 is a little low, you got to call in. So really doing fantastic stuff with our TAVR patients, and, you know, age doesn't matter. They, you know, figure out a way to adapt for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So my understanding is if they're inputting their symptoms or the recovery data and it's a mild concern, not something that meets a certain threshold, they're given then recommendations like education on self-management.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
Correct?
So we basically customize the recommendations that patients see. So for example, a cardiac patient who has aortic stenosis is going to have probably a higher kind of baseline blood pressure than your like normal non-cardiac patient. So we customize that to make sure that those levels represent, you know, when a cardiac patient needs to call in. It's not like your blood pressure is supposed to be 120/80. If we told every cardiac patient to call in when their blood pressure is, you know, more than 120, they would have to call in every day because the baseline is like 130, 140. It's a little bit higher. So that's the way that works. And then we can also monitor for different things like device erosion and signs of a stroke, delirium. So really asking patients, you know, loss of coordination, not able to maybe verbalize certain things. We help patients look for all those different problems. I mean, they're not very common, but if it did happen, it's quite severe. And sometimes those things like delirium kind of go unnoticed. So very important to monitor for signs like that.
And Daniela, you know, given that this tends to be a much shorter stay in the hospital than an open heart surgery case, are you finding that our partners are continuing to have patients track symptoms and monitor patients like all the way through 30 days post-discharge, or are you finding that it's sometimes shorter, maybe 2 weeks? Like, what are you seeing with partners?
Yeah, certainly a little bit shorter. Because it is patient reported. So patients can choose to interact, they can choose not to interact. Some people just want to read the messages. They don't want to fill out the surveys, right? So it's really up to your patient population, but we definitely find the most engagement around 1 to 2 weeks after surgery. And that makes sense, right? You just came out, you don't know if redness is normal. You don't know if, you know, some weeping from your wound is normal. So it kind of just gives patients that reassurance that, hey, you put in all these symptoms, it's fine. And then after a couple of weeks, they kind of get the hang of it. And because they have smaller incisions, they do heal a little bit quicker as well.
And when we kind of like, I guess, hear from patients. So for those who don't know, we collect a lot of patient feedback surveys as part of the seamless experience on the platform. So we're prompting patients at different time points. You know, what did you like about the experience? What could we do better? You know, what was helpful, what wasn't helpful, all that stuff. And, you know, depending on the type of use case, the feedback can vary. So for example, I know like in bariatrics, like there's a lot of great feedback about how important the dietary information is because they have a lot more, you know, of a complex diet regimen. And maybe for orthopedics, a lot of patients love all of the different rehab exercises. I was curious are there certain parts of the program that patients who've had TAVR have found most useful?
Yes, absolutely. They've provided some feedback around, I mean, I know I already talked a lot about vitals, but they absolutely love the fact that they can track their vitals. Because imagine like you had like, I don't know, the meter, and then it said your O2 was like 95 and you're like, is that good? Is that not good? They don't know what to do with that number, right? They don't have that clinical background. So I think they really appreciate that. Also things like they've been able to avoid calls for, you know, feeling short of breath or having swelling. So understanding like when that's normal, when it's not normal. I think I really like this one comment from a patient that said it keeps you involved with your healthcare and your maintenance. That's so nice to see that, you know, patients feel empowered to be part of the process. They don't just feel like, you know, they're being instructed and left alone. They feel cared for. So they're really enjoying those aspects of it, and helps remind you to continue towards a goal for progressing and returning to a healthy and full lifestyle. I think that comment's also really nice. You know, patients, it's not just about your recovery, but getting back to normal. and living your best life, improving your quality of life. So I think TAVR patients have, really appreciated the Seamless program so far.
Yeah, I think Daniela made a really great point about empowering patients. I think, or at least what it feels like to me is maybe years ago, it was very normal for healthcare to be very paternalistic. It's like, we'll tell you what you need to know, and you're lucky if you get some verbal instructions, maybe a handout. But now I think with the internet, whether for healthcare or for other things in our lives, we have so much access to information. We're looking stuff up. We're expecting to be educated on things, and it's almost like healthcare has to kind of keep up with what patients as like consumers and citizens are expecting to be able to learn. And when you think about it as a healthcare team, you kind of, even though a patient could Google stuff and end up on WebMD to look up, hey, like what should happen to my TAVR, you kind of don't want them doing that, because you might be doing something slightly different in your program, and then if patients follow what's on WebMD, then it might conflict. So I think one of the things that we often don't realize is that patients want this kind of information, and kind of the neat thing is that Daniela, you and your team, you not only create these programs, but you actually work with the healthcare team at the organization to make sure that the 10% of the content that would be different for that care team, you end up working with them to collaborate and configure it so that way their patients actually get the information that matches what their care team is saying, and it's consistent. That's a really powerful, I think, difference than just like some random program or information a patient could get online.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It takes, a lot of, time and effort between both of us, myself and from the partner, to go ahead and, customize the program, make sure it's really accurate, but it's certainly worth it. And patients know, and they definitely highlight when things aren't accurate. And it's actually also a great way for the healthcare team to find out if they're being consistent and providing the same instruction. So one of our partners actually, through the TAVR program on Seamless, they were able to identify that patients weren't actually being consistently told about the incentive spirometer. So patients were like, hey, well, I got this thing, no one told me what to do. Or, I wasn't given enough instruction. So we were able to go back to the clinical team and be like, hey, there's this education gap. Maybe, your in-hospital team could do X, Y, Z to better educate patients before they go home. So very fantastic stuff going on there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of my favorite, I don't think this was TAVR, but one of my favorite stories is, I forget who, but there was a patient apparently who, they were told they had to get a chlorhexidine wash for their pre-surgery shower. And they went to the store and they took up their phone and, opened up Seamless and said, yep, this is the one I need to buy. I mean, that's just really cool. Mm-hmm. I love that.
That's awesome. I love that it's on your phone. So convenient. I can't tell you how many times I've lost paper trails. Like anytime I go to an appointment and someone says, can I send you like a confirmation text? I'm like, yes, because I won't remember what we just talked about or what time. It's super handy.
Yeah. I mean, especially if the standard before was verbal as well, like maybe a paper handout, but a lot of it was verbal. And I know a lot of that just, you may hear it, but you may not understand it. And then to recall that information, it's like next to impossible, right? Josh, do you have any other questions about the TAVR line specifically, or even cardiac?
No, that was great. I mean, I have some questions, but I think that would require us digging into some of the data. Like I was curious, like I'd look at the data of like what % of patients for TAVR end up having a caregiver, because I'm guessing it's a lot higher than, like
yeah, it is
geriatrics, but don't know if you know what that looks like.
No, I can message Tiff quickly if you want to ask.
No, that's
okay.
That's just me being curious. Like,
yeah,
that's not to be on the podcast or anything. I'm just.
Yeah, I also had a question that I don't know if you know, but is it common for patients to have a TAVR procedure and then move to an open heart surgery if needed, or?
I don't know that. I do know that oftentimes there are multiple procedures being done. So a lot of patients are coming out with a TAVR and a pacemaker. So a lot of the symptom monitoring ends up being the same, because we're looking for the endocarditis, for the device erosion, delirium, things like that, monitoring vitals. None of that's going to change. So it actually kind of works for both. But because a lot of these things are decided kind of like game time decisions, hard to provide patients with all that education prior. And they're like, TAVR is typically an elective surgery, but it looks like a lot of patients are being brought in emergent. Maybe they're sitting on the floor waiting for open heart, and then they change their minds and did TAVR. So we are seeing, I think, a higher number of emergent patients than we expected.
Right. I just thought of something else that I found really interesting when I learned about TAVR was that it really it uses a bigger team or a more comprehensive team. Like you have a cardiologist and a cardiac surgeon in a lot of cases in the same room, in the same operating room. And so what I've heard in different areas is they may have like a hybrid room for where both of those. I don't know if you have a lot of information on that, or if it's even necessary for the patient to get that information. It's just something that I've heard. But
yeah, I think like patients don't know the difference. I mean, I'm assuming they won't know the difference between like an OR or like a procedure room that much, right? So I don't think we go into that kind of detail, but the types of details we do like to provide is, yeah, like who's on your care team, who can you expect to talk to, what happens to you during surgery? Are you going to see a big robot? Are you going to see, different machinery? So in different devices. So we definitely lay that out for patients so they have those expectations. And then they also know what to expect when they wake up. Because sometimes when you wake up with a bunch of tubes and lines, that can be like a little scary.
Yeah.
So
if you weren't expecting it, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know, like, well, okay. So hopefully you're expecting the procedure.
It sounds like a sci-fi movie. You just woke up with tubes and lines.
Exactly.
I'm sure if you wake up intubated and you had no idea, it'd be kind of scary, right? Like, oh,
yeah,
I
definitely.
can't talk, right? And I don't know, the machine sometimes can be loud.
When I hear waking up with tubes and lines that you weren't expecting, I'm thinking of like Neo in the Matrix.
The Matrix, yeah.
Waking up in like an experimental lab.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's funny. All right, so Daniela, we have one last question before we jump over to the lightning round.
Okay.
This is a question we're asking all of the internal guests, so all the employees from SeamlessMD who are on the show. We're asking now, what do you love most about working at SeamlessMD?
Okay, it's a tough one. I actually had two, but I'll be quick. I think what I love most about working at Seamless is definitely the culture. It's fun, it's light, it's easygoing, it's friendly. I don't think I've been anywhere else that has this kind of culture, and I think that is so valuable. But I think the other thing I really love about Seamless is like the friendships that I've been able to build. It's not just, it's great to have coworkers that you get along with and have a support system at work, but to also build genuine friendships out of that is like super nice. So I love that.
Awesome.
Yeah, I didn't have anything.
I don't think anyone else mentioned friendships.
No, nobody's said that yet.
No.
But like, I think the common answer has been the collaborative nature and the teamwork and the diverse opinions and thoughts and stuff. So that's really cool.
I think because a lot of us maybe come from more of like a
hospital setting or
where it's very different. It's very top down. And even like the jobs that I've had throughout school and stuff like that, like it's been very top down. So this is definitely a very unique setting. And, every time people come and then they go, they're always like, man, this was like a really cool place. Or, I love, it's the culture. Definitely.
I mean, how many places are there where you could be on a podcast 5 times?
It's true. Oh, that's
Make
great.
podcast friends.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, hopefully we're podcast friends at this point. It's been 5 episodes. Daniela hasn't turned us down yet, Josh. So it's been.
I was gonna say, how did you convince me so many times?
It was funny though. I do remember after your first episode, you were like, I don't know if I'll ever do that again. And then when you came on the second one, you're like, oh, that was great. Like I'll keep doing them. So here we are at number 5.
That was like an open invitation.
That's really good. So Daniela, because you've been on the show 5 times, we're going to let you do the fast 5 or the lightning round. So I think you've prepared 3 questions for Josh and myself.
Yes. Okay. So my first question for you guys is, why can't we tickle ourselves?
Okay. I'll go first, Josh. I actually think that you can tickle yourself, like I mean with like a feather or something, like another.
I'm trying right now.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I mean maybe because your brain connects like, oh, this is your limb that you're like, like I can't reach the bottom of my foot, but yeah, I don't know.
It doesn't work. I'm
doesn't.
English and I've tried to tickle myself and it doesn't. I actually Googled why you can't. I actually have no idea, but
Yeah,
Oh,
like I was
thought
wondering,
you were
are you like, is
quizzing
this a
us.
trivia question?
Yeah.
Like, is there a right answer? There probably is a right answer, though.
It probably is, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. Josh, what do you think?
Well, I'd probably guess along the lines of what you said, Alan. Like maybe it's like if because your brain can kind of expect it, it knows it's coming from you, so it shuts off
Mhm.
something. But then now I'm wondering, like, what's the evolutionary purpose of tickling in the first place? Like, why do we even have that sensation?
Yeah, that's true.
And in certain parts of the body, not others.
Right.
Right? Yeah.
I Googled it, and it says when you try to tickle yourself, your cerebellum predicts the sensation, and that prediction cancels the response to other areas of your brain.
That makes sense because there's also that experiment where I think you're blindfolded in one eye and you get to see someone else's hand, and then they like stab it with a knife, and your brain actually feels the sensation as if it's your own hand. Yeah, there was some experiment. I don't even know what I would
Alan,
have
I
to
don't know
do.
what experience you signed up for. And like,
They paid you a lot of money.
Yeah, but that would be the opposite case where your brain is now almost predicting what that sensation is like, but it's not your limb. I don't know. That's
Very
neat.
cool.
wait, Daniela, do you know like why people are ticklish? Is there
Mhm.
is there an answer to that?
I don't. No, you're talking about like what you're asking, like
In
evolutionary,
general, yeah.
why did we? No, I don't
Yeah,
know.
like there
Are
must be
we
some like
ticklish?
reason that maybe there's no answer. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but the first thing on Google just says it's a defense mechanism.
Defense. It makes you
Yeah,
defenseless.
exactly. I don't know how it's a defense mechanism.
My sisters
Like-
just like pin me to the floor and like tickle me to death. Like that's why the question kind of stood out to me. I was like, oh, I can relate to that.
Great. I don't know. I don't know the evolutionary reason for that. That's interesting. Cool. Okay. Second question, I guess.
Okay, it's not really okay. Kind of is a question. So tell me how you like your coffee using an Elmo voice.
Wait. I'm gonna need an
this is the
example.
impersonations.
What's Elmo voice?
Using an
told
Elmo voice. Do you want to demonstrate what an Elmo voice is for us to know?
No, you guys have to do
Wait,
it.
I actually don't remember.
Elmo?
Like I can like guess Cookie Monster, but I don't remember.
Cookie. So
Yeah,
it doesn't. Elmo kind of speaks in the third person. He's like, Elmo likes this.
Oh,
yeah.
Is that it?
He'd be like, I'll try it. How do I like my coffee?
How do you like
That's
your
what the
coffee?
question is.
Yeah.
Elmo likes his coffee black. I feel like that was pretty good. At least to my
Okay.
ear, that's Elmo.
I can try it, but like I'm just assuming that Alan knows what he's talking about when it comes to the Elmo voice. So it's like, and he's like a high voice, like Elmo.
Yeah.
It's like you sucked like a helium balloon, kind of.
Yeah.
Oh, is it like Elmo likes his coffee with 2 Splenda and half and half? Is it really
That's
Elmo?
great. That's good.
Kind
I got a
of.
YouTube Elmo.
That's funny. I didn't even know I could do an Elmo voice. I don't think I've ever tried that before. It's
I was
funny.
very confident you could do it, Alan.
Yeah, I randomly can do like voices and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Elmo was a bizarre one.
Okay,
That's
this is
good.
actually like a real fast five question. So would you rather lose all your hair or gain 50% more hair?
Okay,
Like
that's
all
not a fair-
hair, all of your body hair.
All your hair, your eyebrows, your
Oh,
eyelashes.
I was thinking just like the head.
No.
Okay, so would you rather lose all your hair or gain
Oh, wait, all or half?
all
lose
All or
all your
double?
hair?
All or double?
Oh,
All your hair or double your hair? Double your amount of hair. Okay.
wait. Can I just confirm, Daniela? So if it's all our hair, it's like I'm bald. I got no eyebrows. I got
Yeah.
like nothing.
Like think of like someone with alopecia, like
Right.
Oh, okay.
No
Wait,
nose hair.
quick,
just-
quick follow up. Am I allowed to cut or shave my hair if I double my hair?
I think so.
Okay.
There's no restrictions.
No restrictions. Okay. Oh, then definitely I'll double my hair,
Double, woo.
but I'll cut it.
Yeah. Like that's what I was
Like
thinking. Is
cheating?
like if you doubled your hair, like at least you could just shave. You could just cut it. But the thing is, I do have a lot of hair, so like I'm trying to think of what the benefit is to, like, for instance, like nose hairs. Like you need nose hairs, I would think. And if you didn't have
And
them,
eyelashes.
eyelashes,
sort of,
exactly,
right?
exactly. My original
Yeah.
thought was like, if I had no hair, I could at least wear a wig or draw some hair on. I actually did know someone, what was it, alopecia? I did know somebody who had that. So he actually did not have any hair, but he would draw eyebrows on and he wore a wig
Right.
and stuff. So that would be neat. But it's a lot
But
of
if you
work.
double your
Both,
hair,
both scenarios.
if you
Both
doubled your
scenarios
hair,
are-
like some people with very like thick hair, like sometimes they can't even wear, or they don't feel comfortable wearing like white t-shirts because it's almost like a blanket of hair.
Yeah, I don't really care. I mean,
You don't
Yeah,
I would honestly
I
become
lack hair.
yeah. Like I would probably look like some sort of like Sasquatch or something if I doubled the
I was
amount.
gonna say, do you guys ever read the Guinness World Record books?
Yeah, like I could make it.
Not lately.
I mean, like growing up, like I always used to read those, and I always remember like the Wolf twin
Oh
brothers.
yeah, I remember.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I
Yeah.
was like, if you double your hair, you might look like that. And they said it's like really tough to live like that.
Oh,
Because
interesting.
they grow hair really quickly too, right? I'm guessing.
Probably.
Yeah, like quickly and everywhere.
When they have hair everywhere, like on their face, like it goes like all the way up to here.
Yeah,
Huh.
exactly. I mean, the question doesn't specify if you would get more hair in new places, but usually when you get new hair growth, like you do.
It has to go somewhere. Yeah. Yeah, like is that is part two? Is it like just the hair length is longer? Like your hair just doubled in size, or is it volume, like
Doubled
the amount of hair?
Yeah, I feel like, well, I don't know, like guys can get away with being bald, but a little bit harder for girls. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I probably want double
some
it.
people can pull it off. So I think Josh said he would go with more hair. I would actually say less, no hair, but now I'm thinking of like the health benefits that I don't know if that would be eyelashes. It's a really good point. I didn't think about
Alan, have you
eyelashes.
ever like shaved your head though?
I had a buzz cut once.
Okay. I feel
That's
like I've always
close.
seen you with full beard, full luscious hair.
Yeah, I didn't have the beard right before you joined, so and I'll probably get rid of it. I'll get rid of it soon. Like I'm not even that attached to the beard, so I'll probably get rid of it. But
You just don't feel like shaving?
wow, yeah.
Wait,
No, some
That's a
guys like
Alan,
are just, I
can you
don't know.
keep the mustache, but then just shave the beard, please?
Exactly. I probably will. There's gonna be a week where I'll have like some funny styles and stuff.
Well, November's
no,
coming up, and you could do
yeah,
November. but just
that's
keep
a
the
good point.
mustache.
That's a great point, actually. I'm gonna do that this year. That sounds good. I don't know why I got
Okay,
the beard.
go
I think you're right. Where I just one day was like, I don't really feel like shaving it. Then, well, really was I had never actually grown a full beard before, and then I was like, well, I've never done it, so I might as well try it. And then I liked the look of it, so then I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I kept it. But
Wait, serious question. Besides the look of it, are there any other benefits that you like about having the beard?
well, I mean, my partner likes the look of it. She likes
Well, that's
it. I mean,
important. Yeah.
no, like it doesn't keep my face warm or anything like that. It's not like
Really?
yeah,
I thought it
not
would.
that I notice it. I mean, probably if I shaved it off, then I would probably notice how cold it is.
Right.
So it is probably like providing some warmth. But
Do you ever
You
get,
smell like the beard oils and stuff?
yeah, I did that in the start, and then
And then it got old.
yeah, yeah, I don't do it.
you get food tangled in it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, that could be a benefit. It's like you have food for later, you can eat it. Like, no, yeah, they are definitely messy. That's true. You like, or if you're drinking, you'll get like a big mustache.
Dash.
Yeah,
Kind of gross, but I don't know. I like the beard.
like Alan, your beard in particular is kind of gross, but but okay. No, that's good. I think that's a good place to end the podcast, Daniela. Just end it on a great note like that. I do want to thank you for coming on the show today to talk about, look at that, the sun's coming out. It's really nice. Sorry. To talk about TAVR and digital care plans that you've built with TAVR in mind. I think just a lot of emphasis on how you actually relay the information to patients so that they're comprehending it and actually making it a tool to empower patients is really valuable. And so just hope that, our audience sees the value in listening to this episode as well, and really understanding the care that you've put into the program. So thanks so much for joining today.
yeah. And Daniela, It's awesome that you've continued to maintain your lead with the most podcast appearances. So, you'll have to come back again if you want to keep that up, but it's your call. It's your call, but
Agreed.
Yeah, guys, stay tuned to see if I beat my own record and make sure Malvina, stays under me.
all right. I love it. Healthy
right.
competition.
Awesome. Thank you,
Okay.
Daniela.
Thanks, Daniela.